I'm Tracy, and we're here today with another coach from MeatRx. His name is Coach Vin. He's going to tell us his success story, and we'll begin. Oh, hi, Vin.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is
Oh,
great. I
thank you.
actually didn't know that we did these like intro video kind of success story things for coaches. I'm like, oh, cool. This is fantastic. I've been watching Sean for a while, but the MeatRx channel is like just it's in my feed. I get to it when I can. But this is great. I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. And you're not really in America, but you're able to attend some things, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's
So
really
set
good.
yourself in the PM, like the late, like this is being recorded at 4 p.m. roughly, PST, right? So yeah, or PDT. Yeah. So happy to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came, and thank you for joining us. And I'm excited to hear your story. Can you start out by telling us what health conditions you had and what your diet was like before you became, onto a meat-based diet?
Yeah, sure. So health conditions wise, I pretty much had a couple of things I would say are the main ones. So I was pre-diabetic. I was diagnosed with that at 21, so 2010. The follow-up to that was overweight. So I don't know which of those came first, but either way, I was like ridiculously overweight. I think it was like 95, 94 kilos at 167 centimeters. So that's 5 foot 5.5 roughly. And let's see, 97 kg to pounds. I think it would be like 200, yeah, 213 pounds. So I was a big boy. That was so pre-diabetic, a big boy. I have since then, before finding carnivore, I kind of did a lot of damage to my metabolism. Like I got it, especially with crash dieting and all that kind of stuff, trying to fix my other problems. I got to the point where I'd be eating like 1,200 calories a day and not losing weight, and I had a lot of issues later on. And then finally, there was a back injury I sustained about 2 years ago, which I, isn't necessarily directly associated with diet, but um, figuring out how to manage that has helped me a bunch with a lot of other things. And I have found that carnivore has helped with that as well. So but we'll get to that in a bit. But those are the four main issues I had.
Okay. So how did you find out about the carnivore diet? Did you hear about it on the internet, or I just
Well,
listened
okay.
to
Yeah, so it's a journey. I think carnivore is like the peak of a large process of finding like what I think of as like the truth about diet and exercise and all kind of stuff, which was I think the turning point in my life. This I'll get to the carnivore set bit in a second, but the turning point in my life was when I finally joined lost a bunch of weight, joined the Air Force, and what happened there was on the first day of the Australian Air Force, I was an officer, that kind of thing. They do a physical fitness test to see if you can stay fit for the entirety of the course. And on that, so I rocked up first day physical fitness test. I failed it, and it was horrible. Like it was my whole family was like excited for me to go and all that kind of stuff. And then you get there, and I'm excited to be there. I started a new career, all that kind of stuff, and it was devastating. Like they take you aside, they take you out of the course, they sit you down and go, hey, you can't continue with this course until you fix your physical fitness. So actually the coach, like, well, I call him a coach, but he was the PTI, the physical training instructor. He introduced me to fasting, and he was like, read this book. It's the 5-2 diet, and see how that works out for you. And that started it. So first I was fasting. Then I found keto with Gary Taubes' Good Calories, Bad Calories. And for a while there was a schism in the keto community at the time between like the zero carbers, never eat anything with a carb in it ever. And then like the people who go all the way to like the vegan keto, like the people with vegetables in their diets. And then for many years, I was kind of vacillating between the two there, and I never found anything that quite worked, because when I tried zero carb, I felt like I was being extreme. I felt like I was doing something wrong. I should be eating vegetables, as everyone would tell me, like vegetables are good for you. Like, what is wrong with you? You can't just cut out an entire food group. All the standard things you hear. So I touched on zero carb a couple of times, and so when the main thing I need in my head is I need to know why something works before I try it. And in the carnivore community, I think something we're lacking is we don't have a definitive, this is why eating beef and salt works. Like, and you don't need anything else. Like this, why do you need anything else if you can live off beef and salt? And even though it's a simplistic statement, it's so hard to find like definitive proof aside from lived experiences. So for me, it was Sean Baker, Joe Rogan, like a lot of people, when he sat there and said, "Hey, I've been eating this way for years. I'm not dead. Um, we're not really sure why it works, but we know it works, and we have people who do it." And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll give it a shot. So, World Carnivore Month 2020, I convinced a friend to do it with me. Did carnivore, and ever since then, yeah, love it, love it. So
Awesome.
many benefits.
Awesome. So, how did your health conditions improve? And how did you
Yeah.
start out with your carnivore diet? Did you eat steaks, or how did you work that out?
Yeah, so I'm in a pretty okay position, like financially. So I could do things like Scotch fillet, which is what we call ribeye steaks for every meal every day. So that was uh, the purpose for me trying it was to prove to myself whether like people were being people were exaggerating about carnivore. So at the end of last year, I was still recovering from back injury. I was 12 kilos more than what I am now, so 24 pounds plus more than what I am now. So in January, I was still like 70 something kilos, and I was like, okay, people tell me that on carnivore you can eat pretty much as you want and lose weight. That sounds ridiculous. There's no way that's true, is what I was thinking at the time. People were telling me, oh yeah, so you can eat beef, salt and water and not feel hungry and have plenty of energy even if you're exercising. And I was like, that can't be right. You need some kind of like carb load or whatever to lift weights and stuff. And then beyond that, it was I was curious about the satiety aspect probably more than anything else. I was like, how many times? Because again, people were like, on carnivore, you could eat like once a day and be happy. And maybe once, maybe twice. And I was like, okay, because Sean he does a lot of OMAD and he does a lot of twice a day stuff as well. I was like, okay, I want to try that because if I could find a diet that would let me eat once a day, A, it'll save me a crap load of time, but B, it would let me play with things like fasting, which I'm already quite familiar with. So the way I started off was, you know what, let's do it. Let's go all in. Beef, salt, and water. So it was 1 month of just mince and ribeye steaks, pretty much just salt, maybe pepper. And towards the end of the month, when I felt more comfortable with it, I started adding like stock powder to it. And that's pretty much it. It was that for a month. And it went fantastically.
Wow, sounds great. So, did you add extra things in later at a different point, like cheese or eggs or anything like that?
Yeah. So for World Carnivore Month, I was pretty much just beef, salt, and water. But since then, obviously, it's been months since then, and that's what I experienced in that month was pretty much the opposite of what everyone told me, which was like incredible energy. I only need to eat once a day. I could eat as much as I want till full. It confirmed what everything told me and the opposite of what I thought it would be. So it was all the hype turned out to be true, at least in my case, and I was like really crazy. So what then I did was I'm an engineer at heart. I'm pretty scientifically minded. I needed to know whether it was like a placebo effect, whether it was just my meal timings that were doing it rather than just the meat, or was this the percentage of meat that really mattered? So for a couple of months there, I started adding stuff back in. I went eggs, chicken, and then I started adding a couple of vegetables here and there, bit of carbs here and there. And I actually played with it for a good couple of months of different permutations of it. And I have graphs, and I tracked it. I started weighing my food. I tried calorie restrictions to see if that was what was actually occurring. Because I graphed everything through January and I was eating like 3,000 calories a day and losing weight. It was pretty substantial. So yeah, I played with that for a couple months, and then what I ended up finding was, and my final like light switch was at the end of last month before I started my carnivore coaching certification stuff, was honestly, no matter what I tried, nothing felt as good as just beef, salt, and water, which is just strange. And so now I throw in eggs every now and then just to break up the palate more than
Mhm.
anything else. But yeah, I feel best when I'm just eating like mince or Scotch fillet, maybe a bit of eggs, maybe a little bit of like onion as a garnish, just like a couple bits of onion, and that's me. Cheese wise, I do add cheese every now and then, but it's just for taste. It's the core of what I eat is just beef, salt, water, and I don't mind the occasional diet energy drink or whatever, like So
Awesome, awesome. So did all of your conditions resolve? I know you lost weight. You look great.
thank you. So yeah, the so pre-diabetes and stuff. That's another point that I wanted to test. Um, So I was also I was exiting the military at the start of the year as well. And so there's an exit medical, and I use that as like a data point to figure out, okay, is this bad for me or not? And if a military doctor, because the way it works is on the way out of the military, they do a final medical to check if they're liable for anything that they did to you over those years. And they didn't. They were fantastic. I love being in the Air Force. But the idea was they do a really stringent final test. So that was already 2 months into carnivore, and essentially I just stuck to that 100%. And again, that first month was just beef, salt, and water, and the second month I didn't play too much. When I hit my final medical, I at that point my back pain had reduced quite a bit, so I was lifting weights again. I was total perfect bill of health in terms of blood markers, blood pressure. So again, it came from pre-diabetes. None of that. That's all gone. Obviously, I lost a bunch of weight in January. I went from 76-ish to 71, so 5 kilos in a month, which is pretty good for me. Um, so just clean. I did mention earlier, but I did have a couple of bouts of depression for a long time back. But now my mood is absolutely stable. There's I can't, everything on the list: overweight fixed, prediabetes fixed, depression fixed, back pain reduced. Across the board. Happy days.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear that. I mean, it's amazing to me that I can interview these different people and so many different countries and so many different ages and everything, their conditions. They all seem to heal with carnivore, and it's just incredible.
Absolutely.
So you're a coach at MeatRx, and I know you said you'd help some people to try out carnivore. What
Yep.
is your coaching strategy? How do you help out people?
Cool. I kind of bring, again, I'm a very engineering-y kind of engineer. But I also have that kind of military like practicality to me. So the way I look at it is I test and adjust is what we say in the military. So literally get someone, figure out what's a good starting point for them. And the whole point, I think that the most effective way to do a diet in general is to adapt it to your lifestyle, or like meet it in the middle. Someone has to at least change some things about the lifestyle. You have to stop eating pasta. Like, come on. But if you meet in the middle, then the diet should be doing most of the work. In terms of, especially because my personal specialty, as it were, is weight loss more than anything else. Because I've gotten it down to near science, but nowadays in terms of mixing carnivore and fasting, a couple of things. But so the strategy is get someone, figure out what they need to start off with, do their thing, and then adapt. So the way I look at it is a very practical, like if you need to eat burgers without buns on the way to work because you have no time to cook steak in the morning, do it. Like I'm very much I will adapt the diet to the person, to what they specifically need. If you need a run and you feel like you need a couple of jelly beans on your run, just eat the jelly beans. Like just go for it. And if you do that, if you meet people in the middle, then they can find a strategy for them that really works. So maybe it's not 100% carnivore. Like I'm eating 95% carnivore, but that might be more than what a lot of people need. And another powerful tool is fasting. I haven't got my fasting certification yet, but I'm working on that now, and I'll have it probably within a couple of weeks if everything works out well. It's test and adjust. Find the right solution for the person and help them fix themselves. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about fasting and your experience with that. Do you do intermittent or do you do longer fasts?
So What fasting I've done everything except for extremely long term. So I've done up to a week off, and back then I was doing just pure water. Since then, I'm sure you've probably heard of the Snake Diet Wizard, Cole Robinson. Um, Total mad lad. I love him. He's not for everybody, not for everybody, but I love him. But he introduced me to essentially to salt water, and that was a major turning point. So but that aside, I've done OMAD, I've done fasting windows, I've done to alternate day fasting, week long fasting. What I do now is, sorry, what I was doing for February, March, etc. was OMAD because yeah, on carnivore you really don't feel hungry. Like I ate, and what I found for me was for the peak energy expenditure throughout the day. Like I've done 7 hour walks, for example. I do a 25 kilo weighted walk and stuff fasted. Um, so the peak energy for me is 6 a.m. in the morning. Eat 2 to 3 thousand calories. Just eat till full. Eat as much beef as you could fit in you, and plus whatever condiments you want, and then fast from there. So OMAD's the what I call maintenance. Pretty optimal for that because you can pretty much just eat literally as much as you want and not gain any weight. It's fantastic. But for me right now, I'm cutting because I have like a goal or a dream in my head of one day hitting like a 10-12% body fat. I've never done that before. So that would require me getting pretty lean. And so at the moment, what I'm doing is I eat at 6 a.m. on a given day. Usually takes me about till 7:15 a.m. just to eat the amount of food I eat. But then I fast for 47 hours and then eat again. So I'm eating one meal every 2 days at the moment. And that is almost magical in how A, easy it is, but B, it is how consistently and quickly the weight comes up, especially because I'm already pretty lean. That this is just game changing. Like it's kind of incredible how good it is. But like carnivore, fasting is something that you really need to adapt to the person. Like I wouldn't suggest someone come off and just start eating meat and fasting for 47 hours. Like that's probably not the best starting point. I would probably introduce them to snake juice or salt water because it does help on that second day quite a bit. I think you've asked some previous coaches what their experience with salt is, and that's one of my major things. Like if you don't have magnesium and you're fasting on carnivore, like carnivore is already a very low, it doesn't spike insulin kind of diet. So you're losing salt and water. So you need that salt. You also need that magnesium, which I guess kind of is the same kind of category of electrolytes. And so if you do that, that's what's the final piece of the puzzle of hunger and satiety. I think you keep your meat up, you keep your salt up, you keep your magnesium up. That way you can do what I do, which is this day I did a 10-hour kind of shopping session with someone, but it was 10 hours of literally walking through the entirety of Sydney. And I was doing that. I only had my meal at 5 a.m. in the morning, and then we came back at 10 p.m. at night. So yeah.
Wow, that's a really good long time to fast. And so do you not get hungry at all? Do you eat very much?
Yeah.
You don't eat much fat then in your diet?
Oh no, I do. So, and that's the key with fasting. If you're fasting, in addition to doing other like diet implementations like keto or carnivore, you can play with it a bit more. So I'm still on Scotch fillets and what we call regular beef, which is pretty much 50-50 fat and protein. And that's, I can, if someone wants a coaching session with me, I can show you my graphs. I have pretty much calorie intakes and you don't have to do this. Like for people who I'm not going to make you do that, and you don't have to do it. It's just personally. So I have meat intakes, percentage of fat versus protein foods, because I can just ballpark it now because I've been doing it for a couple of years. I know what percentages foods generally are. So I'm pretty high fat. I'd say pretty much 66-33 fat to protein. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Okay. So you do exercising like by walking and such. Do you also lift weights?
Yeah. So again, I'm pretty lucky. I'm alone in a 2-bedroom apartment. The second bedroom's a gym. I've got a rowing machine. I've got a lifting rack, a couple of barbell weights in that room. So that's like a very important point of adapting to the person. Because for me, what I found was getting out of my house, getting into gym clothes, driving to the gym, freaking getting there, getting sweaty, using a gym shower. The floors are gross. I don't want to be naked around other men. Like this, reducing the barrier to entry to your exercise is a large part of where I think finding a good strategy for you is. And so for me, yeah, like I do walking because I enjoy walking. It is low impact. You can do it for a long period of time. You can see stuff. You can listen to books. Like fantastic. Weighted walking is similar because it's still walking, but now you're adding a strength training and conditioning component to it. So yeah, I'm up to 25 kilos. My aim is to get to 30 kilos. Then I'm going to be doing weighted hikes. The lifting weights part of it is more along the lines because I came from powerlifting, that kind of stuff, a couple of years ago when I hurt my back. At the moment, lifting weights for me is recovery of full mobility, like because I can move and stuff, I can run and stuff, but I still get intermittent like twings in the back and stuff like that. So it's about getting my strength level to a point where like I want to be able to be in a position where when I'm old, I'm not like a, hunched, crippled old guy. I want to be like one of those fit old guys. You're like, how the hell are you 60 years old? Yeah. Like 80 or whatever years old. So that's what I want to do. So yeah, for me, exercise is part of my life. But that's because I've reduced those barriers to entry and made it such that I only do the exercise I enjoy. But yeah, walking and lifting weights is pretty much what I do.
Okay, cool. Do you use like a weighted backpack, or do you have like a weighted vest or something?
Yeah, so I found a really cool local supplier for weighted vests. They're out of stock now because of Corona, but the I have a 30 kilo weighted vest. It has just 30 pockets and 1 kilo weight, so I could slowly, progressively overload to that. I started with just 5 kilos, and now I'm up to 25. And I just do a 1 hour walk every couple of days just to build that strength. Once I get to 30 kilos, the hope is I can get to 50. I'm not, that's like a long-term kind of thing. But at the moment it's just a weighted vest, and I'll be adding a weighted backpack to that.
Oh, okay, cool. So I appreciate you coming onto the show, Coach Vin. And
No worries.
if someone's wanting to start carnivore, did you have any transition problems? I mean, are they going to need to expect something in the beginning that?
Yeah, so personally, I didn't have too much. That was one of the lessons I learned, that you don't need fiber. That's one of the lessons I learned it very early on. But what I also found was that it's really dependent on the individual, really dependent on what you eat, and fat levels and the amount of food you eat is actually a large part of it as well. So I say coach, but when I convinced other friends through continually berating them till they listened to me and then did what I said. When I did that for a couple of friends, most of us had very few transition issues because I'd lean towards that beef salt water, and you can't really go too wrong. But one of them did have the diarrhea and that kind of stuff. When I looked at his diet, he was doing more like the porks and a couple other things. So I'm not really sure what the core factor is there that did it for him. But no, it's personally, especially because I came from years of fasting and keto and a bunch of other stuff. Like for me, the transition was very, very smooth. But for others, it was more of a mental transition, figure out how to work it around their family dinners, that kind of thing, than a physical transition. But one of them did have, diarrhea, which was tough for a while, but it went away after about a week or so. So I kept hydrated, and I encouraged him to keep going higher fat, and not necessarily adding fats, because I'm not sure if adding fats is actually the best strategy. Having meat in it with high fat seems to be good for your gut and processing that, and that seems to make some of the harder parts of transition go away. But no transitions issues for me personally.
Oh, okay. So you're very inspiring. I know that your before and after, if they can look at that on MeatRx, your coach, they just book a coach with you, coaching session with you. I know that they would do
Yeah.
and you sound like a very good coach. You're enthusiastic, and you seem to be passionate about carnivores.
Thank you. And if I have to say, like, if I had to do like parting words for people, I would say that that's probably one of the main things. When I was growing up, I was the fat kid, and I saw things that I'm doing now, other people doing them, like lifting weights, doing weighted walks, hiking, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that would never be me. I am every day I wake up shocked at what I'm able to achieve that day. And it's by that slow build, it's by that slow change, progressive over, etc. But I think the core of it is, don't underestimate how much your life can change by something as simple as taking control of it, like taking control of your diet, taking control of your sleep schedules, taking control of fasting and that kind of stuff, which is diet, but your health in general. I never thought I wouldn't be a fat kid, but now I'm pretty fit. And that hope is what I really think is important to people. Like, something about me I can't change. I'm 5'5.5", not interested in surgery. Thank you very much. I'm going to be stuck at 5'5.5". But things that you can change are actually quite drastic. And when you do change them, it's like a positive slope. It's like positive interest, everything you change helps you change more. And eventually you're doing things like, 30-kilo weighted walks, hopefully. So
awesome. Yeah. So it's sort of like trust the process too, as you
trust
go.
the process. Yeah. Trust the process. Failing is part of the process is another one. Yeah. Because I've been doing this for 11 years on and off, but carnivore for the last 6 months solid. If you get discouraged by failure, I think that's the best thing about getting to a coach, or at least having someone in your back pocket, like someone to help you, encourage you, because that's the part where people screw up and go back to the old habits and all kinds of stuff, is if they fail and give up, because it is hard to continue when you fail. But failure is, take it from me, and I bet you too. Failure is part of it. It's about dealing with that failure, finding out why you failed, and then just testing, adjusting, figuring out what would work if you were to repeat that process, And once you do that, you gain a bunch of tools, and then you can apply those tools, and it's just winning from there forward. So
yeah, exactly. I love that. And it's so easy, and it's a perfect elimination diet.
100%.
There's so much goodness about the carnivore diet. Just simple cooking, simple grocery shopping, simple foods to eat.
Yeah, my grocery shopping is 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Walk in. I know where the Scotch fills are. Grab those. Oh, do I want a drink? Yeah, okay, I'll grab that, and I'm out. So it's pretty fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vin. I appreciate you coming to the show and telling us all about your success, and it looks like you're doing wonderful. And I know
Thank
that
you.
people can find you on MeetRx, sure.
Yeah.
And book a coaching session with Coach Vin.
Happy days. So I look forward to coaching people. It's going to be awesome. I look forward to having fun and adapting with you, finding the solution for you. It's going to be awesome. So thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. We'll see you.
See you.
Bye-bye.